Hello, this is Joy News Prime with me, Blessed Suga. In our headlines this hour, President Akufo-Addo orders suspension of Mayor of Sekondi Takoradi, who allegedly assaulted a police officer.
Cemetery checkpoint. That you will allow me. I'm still there. You will allow me to go. He's here. Talk to him.
Also, ranking member on the local government committee says the police officer needs protection as loyalists of the MCE could attack him in retaliation.
This MC definitely will have party supporters, will have loyalists and all those things. The institution, the Ghana Police Service as an institution, should look at how they will protect this particular inspector.
Also tonight, Minority expresses worry of uncertainty surrounding withdrawal and relaying of controversial e-levy amid claims it forms part of moves to take the NDC MPs by surprise.
So the item on electronic transfer levy bill, Mr. Speaker, it leaves you with a lot of uncertainty.
Fire outbreaks in Tema destroy items worth 400,000 Ghana cedis. At Tekel, in Accra, fire destroys a two-story building near IPMC.
Personnel from the Ghana Fire Service racing against time to douse the fire, which engulfed a two-story building near the GCB Bank at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle.
Some traders whose shops were affected by Thursday night's fire at Community 10 in Tema are brooding over their loss. Destroyed 4 container shops with items worth about 400,000 Ghana cedi.
And in business, be candid about the state of Ghana's economy. Former Finance Minister Sek Tekpe challenges the World Bank as pressure grows for government to seek external assistance.
Both internally and externally, the news is bad. Yes, nobody can force us to go to the IMF, even though we had hesitated and gone for 1 billion and another 1 billion from the same IMF. It is up to us to come out with a program, and that is what is missing.
We are live on your DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Stay with us for details. Consequences for Mayor of Sekondi Takoradi Abdul Mumin Issa, who allegedly assaulted a police officer. He has been suspended after he was captured in a video that has since gone viral, engaged in a heated exchange with a police officer who attempted to arrest him for careless driving. A statement signed by the Ministry for Local Government said, without prejudice to the matter now before the court, government takes a very dim view of the comments made by the Metropolitan Chief Executive during his exchanges with the police. He has since been charged with 3 counts of assault of a public officer, offensive conduct, and disturbing the peace. Takoradi Circuit Court has granted him a self-recognizance bail of the tune of some 100,000 Ghana cedis with 3 sureties. For context, this is the encounter of the MCE and the police who were on duty at the checkpoint.
Cemetery checkpoint. That you will allow me. I'm still there. You will allow me to go. He's here. Talk to him. Take it.
The patrol team is coming to take you to the headquarters for further action.
You are
coming to take you to the headquarters for further action.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, take it. Take it.
I should take it for us.
Take it. Take it. Patrol team coming to take it.
Yes. You wait.
You don't know who you are dealing with.
Okay.
Bakas, he's not prepared to talk to you. He's not prepared to talk to you. That's the Chief Inspector Dokas. So
I'm saying I've called the patrol team.
Okay.
Your action, your behavior, your attitude have been reported. Wait, the patrol team coming to take you to the headquarters for further action, and you'll be detained for this. Attempted to knock a police inspector down.
Attempted to do what?
You wait.
You
and you are saying I should know the car before you refuse to. I'm stopping.
Yeah.
Good. I will not insult you. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. But we will teach you a lesson. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. You can insult me. You can do whatever you like. Yes.
Okay, let him come. Okay.
You are okay to Sector 4 over.
You don't know whom you are dealing with. You don't know whom you are dealing with. You come back in tomorrow.
Well, the MCE plead not guilty in court. My colleague Natalia Kwanzaa has the rest of the story in this report.
I'm saying I've called the patrol team.
Okay.
Your action, your behavior, your attitude have been reported. Wait, the patrol team coming to take you to the headquarters for further action, and you'll be detained for this. Attempted to knock a police inspector down.
Attempting to do what?
You wait.
You.
And you are saying I should know the car before you refuse to. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Good. I will not insult you. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. But we will teach you a lesson. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. You can insult me. You can do whatever you like. Yes.
Okay, let them come. Okay.
You are okay to sector 4 over.
You don't know whom you are dealing with. You don't know whom you are dealing with. You come back in tomorrow. You come back in tomorrow.
Message copied, Roger.
Yeah. No, don't leave them. Make them do them nonsense. Hello, Doctors.
But why are you insulting police? Why are you insulting police?
Insulting.
If you do that nonsense, I am stupid. The whole police inspector is stupid. You will see.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
You insult me whatever you can.
I'll send you 20.
It's a place. Police are working there.
Yeah.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Okay.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry. Don't
Transfer
worry.
is not punishment.
Do what you want to
Can
do.
transfer me to Paluku, wherever. My colleagues are there working happily.
Do what you want to do.
So what are you telling my colleagues who are?
National Police Command arrived at the premises of the Takoradi Circuit Court A in a brown kaftan from a black saloon car. He is immediately met by his counsel, lawyer Samuel Kofi Agbeta, and the presiding member of the STMA. They walked straight into the courtroom. The mayor, Abdul Mumin Isa, sat quietly in the court as his case was called, and he was charged with 3 counts of assault on a public officer, offensive conduct, and disturbing public peace, following exchanges with Inspector Andrew Safo near the Kusmintim Cemetery Snap checkpoint on February 2nd, 2022.
I know the person you are talking. Don't mind him.
And Honorable is telling police stupid. Honorable is telling police stupid. Honorable telling police stupid. I will not insult you back.
No.
I will give you all the necessary respect. I will not insult you back.
Oh, look here.
A policeman officer in uniform telling him stupid. I will not insult you back. You can insult me all you can.
There was this place.
Just be in the queue safely. Just this morning, a colleague of us was knocked down. You heard the news. And you didn't follow the queue, my brother. Why didn't you follow the queue? And he wanted to knock me down.
But don't you know?
He wanted to knock me down. I should get away for him to go. Now you don't know this guy and say, oh, Honorable, should I know the guy before you knock me down? And you're telling the police stupid.
No, not
police officer stupid.
No, me, I chose this road.
People who have been mandated, authorized by the same constitution to work for you, to protect you, you are telling him stupid.
Huh? I'm saying that no, it's
just follow the queue. You are not in a convoy.
Well, ranking member on the local government committee, Nilante Vanderpoy, is asking the local government minister, Dan Kwekubochwe, to place an embargo on the salary of the Sekendi Takoradi MCE, Abdul Mumin Isa, whilst on suspension. In the view of the MP, it will serve as a deterrent for public office holders who always engage in the practice of abusing their power. The MCE has been suspended from office after he was caught on camera threatening and verbally assaulting and abusing a police officer in the Western region. Nilante Vanderpoy, who commended the sector minister for the swift decision to suspend the MC, said the minister will be summoned before Parliament to explain if he complied with the directives.
I think that I listened to the voice initially and I've seen the video. I think the Honorable Municipal Chief Executive did not do well. Metropolitan Chief Executive did not do well. Whatever it is, his action was beyond permissible limits. And I think the swiftness with which the minister has acted is good. It's an indicative of the fact that he's not going to compromise on such indiscipline and impunity on behalf of government officials. You remember during the time of the NDC, there was this DCE in Afar North Southwest who became so popular with this issue of the Tria, who said Tria and all those things. And action was taken against him. I thought that would be a lesson to many DCEs to refrain from acts that make them seem as if the olden days are buying cratchy, on the colonial time when they have all that power and all those things. People should understand that the power today for DCs and things are more consultative, working with the people and understanding the problems of the area, and it is not lording over people. So I think even though every person punished this way is something, I think this should be a lesson to the rest of the MMDCs around the country, that Ghanaians are not ready to compromise discipline. They are supposed to be the utmost, exponents of discipline and also self-control. So what happened is unfortunate. I think the suspension is what I will ask, that the suspension, if it is to pave way for further action to be taken, because the police will definitely prosecute him, and this one should not be inclusive of the police action. This one is to show to him that he was given that position to be an example unto others. So what he has done. So the suspension can continue, but I will ask the question which I believe everyone is asking, which I believe you yourself are asking: is it suspension with salary or suspension without salary? To me, as much as he's been suspended, if it's going to be a month, 2 months, 3 months, he should not draw any salary. That will be punitive enough. But if he's been suspended, he can still have his salary. Then that one will not deter anything.
See, and finally for me, you talk about the suspension without salary as a punitive measure. Do you want the minister to make this public because the suspension is public?
I would have been more excited if that one has even reflected in the letter the minister had signed. But since it's not there, I will seek more clarification. And if we don't hear anything about it, definitely we on the local government committee in Parliament have already discussed this issue this morning. We were waiting for this action to be taken by the minister. I'm very sure that somebody may have tipped the minister down, so because we're going to ask him, we're going to drag him before the House to answer this question. And knowing that Moche for who he is, I think he got information and he acted swiftly in order to preempt our action. But we'll go further and ask him whether this person is going to be denied his salary for the period that he will be under suspension.
The MP also called for maximum security protection for the police officer, saying loyalists of the MCE could attack the police officer in retaliation.
The policeman who stood his grounds, I want to make sure and I want to insist that looking at the sort of culture and environment we live in, the threats on his life should not be taken lightly. This MC definitely will have party supporters, who have loyalists and all those things, who will now want to put the life of the policeman under some threat. So it is important that the institution, the Ghana Police Service as an institution, should look at how they will protect this particular inspector. And I am so excited about his courage and his principles. When he even said that, when the MC said that I'll make sure you are transferred to NG, his response was apt. He said, NG, my colleagues are working there, my colleagues are there. You can take me there and I will do my work professionally. And I think that is commendable. And such policemen are the people we should always commend, we should always promote and highlight, so that it will serve as an example unto the other officers. On the whole, I think that the action by the police in arresting the MCE, and also you could see that the MCE was trying to call a senior police officer to calm this person down, but this guy insisted that he was calling in the patrol team. I was thinking that the senior police officer will be able to make sure that the story is killed or the action is dumped, but you could tell that the police service were determined to make sure that they protected their own in this particular case, it should not be only their own. It should also be a question of any other Ghanaian citizen who is being maltreated by any other person should be given the protection that person requires.
Joining me now via Zoom is a security analyst, Dr. Adam Bona. Thank you so much for your time. So this video has been making the rounds all throughout the day. What was your first reaction when you saw this footage?
Oh yeah, good evening. My first reaction when I saw, in fact, someone sent me the audio before I saw the video. My first reaction was, one without any surprise. But I then thought that, obviously this MCE doesn't seem to know the time the police and Ghanaians we find ourselves. Probably he thought the Ghana police was the police of yesteryears. Maybe he forgot that people who, the so-called untouchables, have been touched, and therefore their cover, have been blown. And therefore, for him to have gone to this extent of denigrating and insulting, running down a police officer and the entire police institution, for me was reprehensible. And so that was my first reaction when I listened to the full tape. Yeah.
And what's more surprising is that this is the head of the Metropolitan Security Council. That's how bad the situation was.
Yes, very, very, very bad. Somebody who is supposed to be level-headed and representing the president at a very important regional capital. In fact, if you are counting cities in the past, anyone who went to primary school, cities that were counted those days, you count Accra, Cape Coast, and I think Takoradi. Later on, we got Kumasi, and I think Tamale and the rest. And so for him to be appointed as MCA of Sekondi Takoradi and to, come this low by running down, the police, for me, it's something that words cannot explain. And I would want to thank the president, the local government minister, the interior minister, the IGP, and the courageous police officer who stood his grounds to ensure that, this, MCE's bluff was called, so that, recording him and ensuring that what evidence again do we need? We are told that an inquiry has been put in place. He has been suspended. I would want to say the president and his team have acted swiftly, and the suspension shouldn't just end there. Some of us would want to see that he doesn't come back again, because how is he going to come and head a very important, city like the Sekondi Takoradi metropolitan, area as the, security chairman of the Security Council, looking at the terror that is surrounding us all over? Such a person, no one will take him serious. So obviously they can't just terminate him without any inquiry or any investigation by the presidency. So whichever inquiry they are going to make, the evidence is already there.
Right.
I mean, he committed whatever has been put before, the court. And so I'm hoping that he gets, relieved of his position whilst he faces prosecution.
And the confidence of this police officer is unheard of, unlike what we know about the Ghana Police Service. What are some of the factors accounting for this? Some have attributed this to the new leadership at the top of the Ghana Police Service. Do we attribute this to the new IGP, or this goes beyond the individual?
Well, you can see the smiles on my face when you started constructing your question. Yes, obviously, I call it the multiplier effect of the new police administration, the Dampare multiplier effect, I want to call it. Because then, if you remember, in the central region, I think 2020, before the election, a DCE, a shameless DCE like this other DCE or MCE, attacked a police officer. This time, it wasn't even on the streets, but within the police station. They beat up a police officer and, released a suspect who was under police detention. And what happened? The police officer was transferred from that town in the central region, and we never heard anything after. We were told they were going to prosecute him, but nothing has happened. And this was under the former regime's administration. And therefore, if you were a police officer and you witnessed that, and other occasions where police officers have been bullied and beaten to pulp, and the administration never rose to the occasion to defend them, you are going to start thinking about yourself, your family, your children, and not wanting to be beaten, because if you are beaten, nobody will support you. But the bravery seen by, exhibited by this particular police officer, I call it a multiplier effect, because then he believed that if he stood his ground, there was no way the new police administration was going to waver. They were going to stand by him. And you can see, once the police administration stood by him and the MC was arrested and detained that night, immediately the public started calling for the head of this MCE. The president, the interior minister, the local government minister have acted swiftly by suspending.
Okay then, I'm grateful, Adam Bona, for your time tonight. The minority in parliament is alleging that government is waiting to marshal all of its members in parliament to support the approval of the controversial e-levy before it proceeds with plans to reintroduce it. This comes on the back of latest revelations by the Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Apenyomakin that the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will withdraw the bill next week and submit same following public agitation. The Efutu MP said this while presenting the business statement for next week.
The Speaker, in total, your committee has proposed 48 questions as admitted by Mr. Speaker, to be answered by ministers. Of these, 3 are urgent and 45 are regular questions to be answered orally. Mr. Speaker, again, your committee came to a conclusion that in accordance with Order 72, you may admit statements and again allow papers to be laid, motions and resolutions taken after debates, and of course, the Speaker, as and when the case may be, referral to committees may be made. So, Speaker, the all-important e-levy which government seeks to use to transform our economy, build our roads, and enable our youth start their business, is also expected to Mr. Speaker, the minority leader says I should ignore the minority chief whip for heckling me. Mr. Speaker, having said so, I shall pray you, Mr. Speaker, to permit these proposals to be considered by the House in accordance with Order 162 and subject to Order 53 of the rules of this House. Mr. Speaker, attached here too is the order in which the business of the ensuing week has been programmed, and we have a number of questions for Tuesday, the 8th of February, and papers to be laid have also been advertised. And Mr. Speaker, if you go to Wednesday, similar approach is adopted, and all the way to, Mr. Speaker, Friday, where we have just some few only questions, Mr. Speaker. On Friday, we have questions and just one motion. So, Mr. Speaker, without more, I so submit.
But in a sharp response, the minority leadership argued that the uncertainty over the debate and subsequent voting on the levy is worrying. Haruna Idrisu alleges that the move adopted by the majority caucus is alien to the practice of Parliament. Listen to the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak and Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu.
So the item on electronic transfer levy bill, and you look at the third and fourth and fifth paragraph, the Speaker, it leaves you with a lot of uncertainty. The use of words like likelihood of unforeseen circumstances. The Speaker, if you look at Order 160 of our standing orders, we are supposed to have business program in the House with certainty. It's supposed to be with certainty. Now we have moved from giving the finance minister 1 week to 2 weeks, and now we are even adding more. Yet we are claiming that we cannot give the finance committee time to do that. Mr. Speaker, if our colleagues from the majority want us to have certainty, if you are withdrawing, come and withdraw now and tell us that you come back with the business. So we know that the business is not before the House. But so long as we leave it lingering, the Speaker, with using words like likelihood, unforeseen circumstances, for those of us in the minority, the only conclusion is that you are trying to lay ambush on us. Because you are not certain with the things that you are saying. If you are certain, come and withdraw.
So with e-levy, I do not think that the Minister for Finance is the Committee of Finance of Parliament. I do not. And I will not accept any reasoning that he must do inquiry for and on behalf of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Indeed, if we had railroaded the e-levy bill as he wished through a certificate of urgency, will he have the opportunity to consult the people of Ghana? So once the bill is referred to a committee of Parliament, the proper place for an inquiry to engage stakeholders and the Ghanaian citizens is Parliament. So I would ask, what is our Finance Committee doing? It is not for the Minister for Finance to go around the country. It's for our Committee on Finance. And Mr. Speaker, the matter of certainty and clarity that on Friday, 11 February, the bill may be withdrawn and a new bill may be introduced. Members need to know so that they plan their lives. Last week, we gave you good advice. If you had introduced a new bill last week, by now the Finance Committee will be engaging stakeholders and the public. The banks are affected, telecos are affected, merchants are affected, consumers of telecom services are affected because their wallets will be taxed. And you hear even the Minister for Finance say that telecos have given him 0.25% discount. If you are charging zero, is there 0.25% of zero? Vodafone card didn't charge. So fundamentally, Mr. Speaker, bring us the bill and we engage. We have consistently informed you where we stand. We vote against it. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to believe that this bill is being held in search for numbers for purpose of voting on it. No, that is not how this parliament should run. That is not how this parliament should run. That I'm holding on to the bill when I'm satisfied that I have the numbers to take a favorable decision, then it is introduced. That is not parliamentary.
The government and Vice Chancellors Ghana have pledged to ensure an end to UTAG strike soon. That was the resolve after a closed-door meeting between stakeholders. Addressing the media, Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei-Aduchum assured the public of government's readiness to dialogue with UTAG. Adom News' Kojo Mensah Brampa came through with this report.
As part of efforts towards the resolution of the ongoing impasse between the University Teachers Association of Ghana and their government employers, the Ministry of Education has met the Vice Chancellor's Ghana in a bid to strategize in getting UTAG to call off its strike. This is only one of several other meetings which have been held with different stakeholders, including the Labour Ministry, the SRC presidents across the various universities, the University Student Association, among others. Addressing the media after the meeting, Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei-Aduchum said government was ready to dialogue with UTAG.
I want to appeal to my distinguished lecturers and professors. We appreciate the work that they do. And as the Minister for Education, I'm the Chief Advocate, and will do everything possible to ensure that this strike ends and that their demands are also considered, and further dialogue happens at the end of the strike. Professors, vice chancellors, I'm truly appreciative of your commitment to the cause, the engagements that you've been having with your various UTAG members and professors is much appreciated. I won't let you down. We'll do everything possible to ensure that we'll come to an amicable conclusion, a conclusion that will bring joy.
Meanwhile, Chairman for Vice Chancellors Ghana, Professor Abednego Okuamate, disclosed that Vice Chancellors are engaging UTAG to call off the strike.
We are doing everything possible to make sure that our lecturers get back to the lecture halls. You can see the minister and all vice chancellors being here and negotiate, discussing issues. And as government said, as the minister said, government is willing to negotiate. And we are talking to our lecturers on the various campuses. Government will engage them further. So we are appealing to them to come to the lecture halls while the conversation continues.
And thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Still to come, fire outbreaks in Tema destroy items worth about 400,000 Ghana cedis. At Circle in Accra, fire destroys a two-story building near IPMC. And later in business, be candid about the state of Ghana's economy. Former Finance Minister Sektekwe challenges the World Bank as pressure grows for government to seek external assistance.
Internally and externally, the news is bad. Yes, nobody can force us to go to the IMF, even though we had hesitated and gone for 1 billion and another 1 billion from the same IMF. It is up to us to come out with a program, and that is what is missing.
Remember that we have more for you after this break.
It's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. Chairman of Parliament Finance Committee Kuku Kwarteng is describing calls of an IMF program for Ghana as misplaced. There have been calls on government to turn to the fund for a bailout amid Ghana's debt crisis. Kuku Kwarteng has been reacting to the calls to seek IMF assistance. He says the calls are out of place.
Ghana to subscribe to an IMF bailout would be so unwise.
Why would it be so unwise? I mean, we've done it before, and several countries have done it before.
It's precisely the reason we shouldn't even think about it. I'm surprised that suggestion could come across at all. Look, the IMF comes to your country. When you go to the IMF to say, I have run my economy down, come and bail me out. The IMF, of course, we are members, so we are entitled to go there. They come to your country and they tell you what you can do and what you cannot do because you have come saying you are sick and the doctor is telling you this is the medicine. What the IMF provides you would be some loan. It's not for free, money for free. That money does not even feed directly into your fiscal. That money is to balance your external payments, to help you soak external pressure. And yet, they come to your country and they tell you to do this, to do that, to essentially to instill discipline. When President Mama was going for an IMF program in 2015 and said it was to provide policy credibility, it was almost to say, well, the way we have run our economy, we do not think people believe us when we say we will do things right. But if the IMF is here holding the stick, then people will now believe that the Ghana government will be kept in check by the IMF. Look, we went for HIPIC and exited in 2006, 2007. We have gone for an IMF program in 2015. It was supposed to be 2 years. By the time the 2 years ended, the economy was in the worst shape. Therefore, we even had to extend it a little before we could exit safely without hurting the image of the economy. How could it be that as a country, we misconduct our economy and our finances, then we go for an IMF program? They come here. 3 years, they go back. And then after what? We exited sometime in 2018, all right? And then a little over 3 years on, you say you're going back to the IMF.
But just a quick one. Isn't your position more of a philosophical stance than some would say the reality on the ground, that there are problems with revenue?
The reality,
there are fiscal and confidence issues. That is why some investors were getting out of your bonds. Obviously, it is not just for the financial package, but also having that big brother there to act as a check. Give some confidence to these investors and your DPs that, listen, when government says that they are doing X, there's someone there to check. So we will lend to you, even when it comes to bilateral loans and all the rest. That is the situation as you speak right now. Therefore, coming in with the fund is not out of the situation.
Well, post-HIPIC, a lot of countries have their own challenges. And look, the IMF has reviewed our economy in 2021. Mm-hmm. If you look at the language of their review of our economy, it does not even appear to me that if we apply to an IMF for a program, they would easily grant it. Mm. We don't know. The suggestion
Those
that...
are just scenarios, Honorable.
What I'm saying is that, one, I don't see the need. Two, what the IMF comes to do for a country is something a country of, I speak as respectfully as I can, a country of human beings, rational, knowing what you have to do and what you don't have to do. If we cannot have discipline to do that ourselves, and we're going to be running to the IMF, then our relationship with the IMF becomes like a drag.
We're still with the debate around the IMF because the World Bank Country Director, Pierre-Frank Laporte, has indicated that Ghana does not urgently need an IMF program. Take a listen to him.
If Ghana goes into IMF program today, it can help certain situations. For instance, if Ghana wants to renegotiate some of the debt, it will put it in a better position, because when it goes to creditors to say, I want to renegotiate my debt, then they will say, okay, what assurances we have that your economic framework is good enough to pay us back what we're going to reschedule. And then an IMF program serves as that guarantee. Okay? But at the same time, a country can go forward and do things without the IMF. Because what the IMF does, it gives you that, that program of reforms, and then it gives you money that goes to help you build your reserves and help you with your balance of payment needs. But to the extent that a country is achieving moderate debt, is having a good revenue collection level on its own, it's managing its fiscal well, it doesn't need the IMF.
And are we doing that?
We've said earlier, there's a mixed picture in Ghana whereby your growth is okay, but your revenues are not strong enough. Your debt is very high. So you can do it without the IMF, but the IMF can always give you something extra flexibility to do more. Like I said, Ghana can tackle his revenue situation on his own. He will help his debt situation on his own. But when he wants, assuming tomorrow he decides, I want to go and reorganize my debt, reschedule a bit, he can do it without the IMF. But if he has an IMF program on the table, it will be much easier.
It will complement and strengthen our position as we speak.
Now, the decision as to whether to go or not is a sovereign decision that I cannot pronounce on. I can tell you the benefits and you don't need it. It can help you, but it's up to Ghana to decide.
Well, we'll end with the former finance minister, Setekwa, who's been responding to most of these submissions. Take a listen to him as he says the World Bank would have to come out clean on the need to go for an IMF program.
The World Bank president will go for debt suspension. The World Bank has been cautioning against our fiscal and others. Fitch has been cautioning. Internally, let me come internally. We have had our own academics. We have had our own academics saying that the fiscal situation is not good enough. We have had our think tanks in the last 3 days, including Data Bank, some of the accounting firms, Imani, and others cautioning against the fiscal situation. We have had eminent Ghanaians who have been involved with the management of the economy in the past. What somebody who is using diplomatic language is telling us the situation is bad. The World Bank itself has told us that the situation is bad. And internally, that is the assessment. When he says that we need a program is not one instrument. A program is not e-levy. So, yes, it is a sovereign right of a country. But let's know that the government is exercising that sovereign right in the interest, including rating agencies and others. So, well, if we want to wind up, let me just say that both internally and externally, the news is bad. Yes, nobody can force us to go to the IMF, even though we had hesitated and gone for 1 billion and under 1 billion from the same IMF. It is up to us to come out with a program, and that is what is missing.
That'll be all for business. We have sports coming up. Please stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to the sports segment live here on the Joy News Prime with me, Oreku Ampofo. The General Secretary of the Confederations of African Football, Veron Mosengo Omba, has expressed worry over recent interventions by the Sports Ministry over the operations of the Ghana Football Association. He was speaking exclusively to my colleague, Gary Al Smith.
Ghana have to be concentrated for the World Cup. They have an important game to play. They have to concentrate on this. This is number one. Everybody have to be beyond these Black Stars because they have important games coming in March. This is one. To lose the game, to lose the cup is part of football. Ghana was eliminated. This is the rule of the games. The governments that I have to thank because they helped one of our member association to help them financially. They put the fund for them to prepare the competition. That I have to thank to the government of Ghana on behalf of CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe. Thank you very much. This is the way of the collaboration we want the government and our member associations. This is one. The money that the government put for Black Star to go for the preparation, this is the natural right. The government has to check with the GFA how you spend each penny. This is the right. They have to do that. We encourage them to do that. This is one. The red line is the government cannot involve in the management of the federation. Even they lose 10-0, it cannot involve saying that we have to change the management, we have to change the coach, we have to... No. This is very dangerous. We don't want to come back to normalization again because this looks like interference. I beg the government, if this was their intention, please stop it. But encourage them to check, to monitor the fund they put in disposition of. That is normal. I don't think GFA is against this. As I know, the President of the Court is not against this. But please, not involved in the management of the federation. That I wanted to say again.
Yeah. A common response that we know will come from this, Mr. Veron, is that why should the government put so much money at the disposal of the Ghana Football Association but cannot determine whether the people who run the association or who run the Black Stars or the national team are fit for purpose? Because it is widely believed in Ghana that the Black Stars Management Committee that brought the team to Cameroon was not good, and so that's why they are asking them to review that committee. What do you say to that?
No, gentlemen, this is not the role. This is not the role of the government. Is to, you believe your members association, they have been elected by the football family, elected them, and then they have the responsibility to conduct the football in the federation. And now they decide how to organize internally the federation. And now, because they have lost the game and we have to change the rule, no. The role of the government stopped how you use the fund that you put on your disposal. That's it. It cannot go beyond that to say that I will see why you put the number 10 and now number 7. No. This is not his business. This is you enter in the autonomies of the federation that FIFA and CAF cannot accept.
Okay. Well, we'll bring you the rest of that interview when we do bring you the second part of the sports segment in just over an hour's time. And we do have a breaking story for you concerning who the next Black Stars coach would be. So do tune in.
Thanks for staying with us on Joy News Prime. It's time now to look at the world of entertainment. Becky's here.
Hello to you, Blessed.
Well, so let's start off with this whole issue about growing the industry. We've had so many complaints about how...
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversation around how we want our entertainment industry to be. Everybody wants growth, right? So Aisha, tonight on PM Personality Profile, she'll be having a conversation with Ablaji Fagumashi. She mentioned that putting up infrastructures and investing in the industry are the main factors of growing the industry.
Investment, I think. Investment, financial investment to support the talent is there. As for talent, I think we have enough of it. And the training opportunities too are there. But when people come out, how to find the resources to put together what they have to offer, that has been a problem. And of course, the infrastructure to support it.
So if you're looking, you should look forward to, that dance, that
and she's so agile. That really shocks me.
She used to be an actress and
used to do a lot of dancing on TV as well.
Exactly, and she loves Stoneboy. So you should look forward to that conversation.
So what's more
today.
and what's happening?
The conversation about e-levy, it's all over. Shatawale has spoken. This afternoon on Drive Time, Kofi Mole has added his voice. He's saying that government should slow down for the youth.
What up? I don't really follow this thing. I don't really follow them, but I still say it be like some taxes on like electronic money transfer. Yeah, and I feel like Charlie, they're for cool down for us.
They're for cool down.
They're for cool down for us.
But don't you think you're making too much money so they feel like they have
Charlie, the word on the streets in the squad not really they make money like that. Word on the street like the average Ghanaian youth, people they complain a lot these days. People are not really making money. Like jobs are not really available like that, and then after all this we are supposed to pay like this amount for sending this. I think they should cool down for us because they put so much stress on the youth. You get me? They should like on everybody. This one say everybody is involved, so then for feel cool down for us because this everything, man. Me I wish I like it a day like how it day,
okay.
No everything, man. Cause you're wild, man. You're wild.
Yeah, brain so.
Nothing really are going. Yeah, bread. You get me?
It appears that a lot of artists of late are concerned about this e-levy. Looks like it's just cutting across. It affects
We're drawing everybody in.
It's
affecting everybody, and so everybody's talking about it. Shatawale also spoke about it. He didn't speak to any radio station. He has his own television station. So here's Shatawale on e-levy.
Hey, Ghana. Forget everything, my guy. Sometimes the way you put it around the country, Charlie, they pay me say man no grow say man we man also help the country because right now people they make the thing they look like if you get opportunity where you get your chance where you can't get power, you can take any decision you want. Everybody talk about e-levy. Everybody talk about e-levy. Yes, it's nice, you understand? It's nice, it's good. You people want to make the system look like that, but bad man, create measures. Create things for the citizens not to complain. So when they do this, they go and say, we all the build up. Don't work like the country be your own. Work with us. Think about human beings. Why would they see when I own people like animal? The first see all probably say the animal, he no get sense. He no take decision. Why? People say you want to do we understand, because Charlie, it's everywhere for the world inside, but those places, make I tell you something, if you go America, they get places where you go $1 shop, you go buy water $1, oil $1, rice bag $1, Indomie $1. Masa, you go to get plenty things $1. Nobody say he is spy. Nobody say he's poor. America, you know, if you do that nonsense thing for them. Because they make those things for people where they know say they don't go fit afford certain things.
Well, Becky, it's interesting how Shatta Wale has become an economist overnight, doing some comparison there.
Will always have
$1
to
to the CD and all of that.
But you have to be careful about Shatta Wale. But I mean, of course, he speaks for the youth, and everything that happens concerns him, concerns the youth as well. So I mean, of course, he decides that okay, I'll speak about. I mean, he might just wake up one day and say that I want to talk about Joy News, maybe.
Well, Becky, we'll do this next week.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's it for entertainment. And you're welcome back to Joy News Prime. Thursday's fire outbreak in Tema Community 10 is estimated to have destroyed items worth about 400,000 Ghana cedis. Imported furniture, mattresses, bed, gents wear, plates, among other things, were burnt. According to the shop owners, there was nothing to salvage.
Some traders whose shops were affected by Thursday night's fire at Community 10 in Tema are brooding over their loss. The fire, which is believed to have started before 7 p.m., destroyed 4 container shops with items worth about 400,000 Ghana cedis. One of the shop owners, Georgina Mankoe, who was helpless, says she has lost over 60,000 Ghana cedis, and her husband, Yao Ejenim Boating, has lost over 300,000 Ghana cedis. The two took delivery of the items last Thursday and were expecting some customers to pick up their orders.
It's over 3 billion plus. I have goods worth 60,000 cedis in my shop. In my husband's shop, we have goods worth 3 billion Ghana cedis. But it is all gone. The fire has destroyed everything.
Although the cause of the fire is unknown, Vivian Darko, whose shop was spared, suspects arson. According to her, they had received several warnings to vacate the premises despite being a little over 5 years into their 20-year agreement with their landlady. They say they doubt the cause of the fire could have been electrical fault, since they have not used electricity power in the shops for over a year.
Rent this land for 20 years, but the 20 years I've paid 5 years, and the 5 years she's supposed to renew every 5 years for me. So the first agreement is expired, so I asked her to renew the another 5 years for me, and she told me she will not rent the place for me anymore. Yes, we suspect, because they were threatening me with fire. They were telling me I should come and remove it. Otherwise, if somebody come and set fire on it, on my container, they are not the problem of it. So I think somebody is behind it.
Now, after 2 hours and 3 fire trucks, the Ghana National Fire Service has managed to douse a raging fire in a 2-story building near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. Though no one was hurt, occupants had all their belongings burnt to ashes, including their century-old edifice, which will soon be demolished. My colleague Michael Ashali was there and our reports.
Personnel from the Ghana Fire Service racing against time to douse the fire, which engulfed a 2-story building near the GCB Bank at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. It had been more than 2 hours before any real progress was made in bringing the fire under control. At least 7 rooms were totally ravaged by the raging flames. Selassie Geraldo is one of the occupants of the affected rooms.
So I was sleeping and the room started becoming hot, and I didn't know why the room was hot all of a sudden, so I thought it was the weather. So then my aunt started shouting. So I went to check what was wrong with her. So when I went there, then she was not telling us anything. So she came down here and we were asking her what was going on. She was looking at the smoke. So when we were there, then we ran downstairs and went to take our grandma. My grandma had an accident, so she really couldn't walk. So we put her in her wheelchair and we brought her in. My aunt, another aunt of mine, took her away. Aunt's room was on fire. So I was thinking whether I should go and take things out. But the way the fire was, that's the only entrance to the staircase that will bring me down. So I was like, if I go and come, the fire might meet me and I might bend. So I just made the decision that I will not go. So I left my phone, my dresses and everything. I was even wearing boxer shorts when I came. Yeah, everybody said no casualties. As you can see, there's a 64-inch TV over here. My iPhone too is over there. My dresses, my mom's office stuff, her papers, my Ghana card, my brother's Ghana card, our passport documents, everything. Like, I'm not that good. I'm not feeling good.
The ceiling caved in with the wooden beams supporting the structure completely charred. But for the timely intervention of neighbors, there may have been a casualty. Jennifer Lamte, another victim, is utterly devastated. The fire has destroyed not just the belongings, but every trace of memories created in this house her family called home for close to a century.
I got a call from a friend telling me the house was burning. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What's the meaning of the house is burning? So I had to come. I stopped everything and I came. And when I got here, I saw the house burning truly. There were flames in the rooms and the house, crashed. I was just standing there staring and there was nothing I could do. Grandma has dementia and she fell, broke her hip bones. We had to fix both. So I was worried. But God being so good, when I got here, my two boys had already brought her out. My cousin's car was around and they put her in the car. That makes me happy. That's what is keeping me going because I've been to hell and back, yeah?
Eyewitnesses say it took more than 20 minutes for the first fire tender to arrive. They allege that the fire truck ran out of water a few minutes after it arrived. The service has described these claims as false and conducting investigations to determine the cause of the fire.
You see, if somebody is under stress in an emergency situation, 1 minute can even mean 1 hour to you. And so, you see, our station is just here, circle, under the bridge. So, do you mean it will take us 30 minutes to get here? No. Now, as to whether there was water in the tank or not, is what I've explained to you. The pump failed. And you see, this is a mechanism. If the pump failed, what would the fireman do? The next thing they did was to inform our control that they need assistance, which a fire tender was dispatched from the national headquarters here. And I told you, from the time we received the call until the time the second appliance arrived was 18 minutes. So how can somebody tell you that it took us 30 minutes to get here? 16 minutes as we got the call, the second fire tender was here. So how come that somebody should tell you it took us 30 minutes for the first tender to get here? If we take just after 8 o'clock to this time, it has taken us about 2 hours to completely extinguish the fire. From here, what we are going to do is to continue with our investigation to arrive at a specific conclusion as to what exactly might have caused the fire outbreak.
The Ghana Fire Service says investigations are still ongoing to arrive at the exact cause of the fire. However, together with NADMO, they have come to a conclusion that the building, having developed cracks and the roof caved in, it has lost structural integrity and will have to be pulled down. That's the situation here of this fire incident at Circle. Reporting to Joy News, Michael Ashali.
The story of a 16-year-old physically challenged who uses his mouth to carry a bucket full of water for household chores and aspires to become a great footballer at Mandai offers hope and inspiration. Wahab Kadri suffered a paralysis in both legs and found himself in an unfriendly environment, but he's shrugging off the stigma and neglect associated with the condition at home and at school to live his dream of becoming a professional footballer. My colleague Ohimin Tewia visited Mandai, the home of Wahab, and comes through with this report.
We pity him, but we are now used to him. Those outside may see it to be sad because we are with him in the house, so we feel it's normal now for us.
Those are the words of Saki Bushaibu, an uncle of Wahab Kadri, a physically challenged boy. He aspires to be a footballer. He had already started doing his chores when I visited him at Pandai Zongo on a Saturday morning. Wahab has both legs and feet twisted and wasted as a result of a tumor he suffered at age 7. He crawls as he does his daily house chores, including washing and bathing in the family's compound house, which has most of its concrete surface removed. Wahab is used to using his mouth to carry a bucket full of water he draws from a hand-dug borehole in the house. His relatives admit they no longer pity his condition.
We have nothing to do, just hoping for the best. Though we feel sad for what has happened, but at the end we can't blame God. God has done it.
Wahab was not born with a disability. He developed the condition after his parents failed to raise enough funds to treat 2 deadly tumors in his anus. The once abled boy, likened to former Black Stars player Agugu, now crawls around the home as he battling the ailment.
Hospital so and me affecting a yimian baby or toilet or honor the area no and so ya chinati and a dark real no afiti no was sorry want to mean and cry one night.
Not only is Wahab's immediate environment hostile, it's unconducive. He is unable to ride his old but wretched tricycle.
I've seen such a person on the clip, so I'm actually amazed at seeing such a person for the first time.
Wahab has never benefited from any government intervention. The District Social Welfare Director, Joseph Isifu, said the District Disability Fund had disbursed funds to some physically challenged persons a few days before my visit. According to him, Wahab could benefit from the Disability Fund and the Livelihood Empowerment Program if he is recommended by the Assemblyman.
3% of this disability fund for people with disability, is there for them to have a livelihood. And secondly, we have the LEAP program, which are targeting for these people to be on livelihood. Just last week, the Assembly Disability disbursed some money to them, bring them out of the streets, and they will be self-reliant and self-dependent with these monies. So of which that we identify him, make a request that Assembly support him.
Like several other physically challenged persons, Wahab is faced with stigma and discrimination, especially at school. This is contrary to Section 4 of the Disability Act, passed in 2006.
He has been complaining bitterly. Sometimes when that happens, because of his physical challenge, maybe they feel that it's not part of them and they take advantage to do certain things that does not augur well, which affects his learning.
Stigmatization and sometimes abuse of people living with disabilities are common in the Pandai district. For instance, it took the intervention of Joy News to save a girl born without arms and labeled a river baby from being killed. Joseph Isifu says it is criminal to stigmatize Wahab Kadri and people with disability.
Stigma against people living with disability is unfortunate. It's not the fault of theirs that they are disabled. And so if they are living with the able people, we have to accept them. Sensitization is ongoing, so that the people who discriminate will now see them as part and parcel of them. Actual discrimination against them is a crime. It's not supposed to be so.
Computer is an electronic device.
Despite the abuse and stigma, Wahab is braving the storm to live his dream of becoming productive. His favorite subjects are core science and ICT. His academic brilliance and ability to dismantle and assemble mobile phones is admired by many, including his teachers.
In terms of his academic performance, I think Kadri has not been bad. He's been very good in class. In terms of examination, he performs, which the whole student body and the staff are aware.
With me Pasikama, with me second, third, fourth, Agromusu, Omu match Suno, with me Shego. We see I would phone man or Bibianwa went me your phone.
Despite lacking any source of help, Wahab is optimistic he will succeed in becoming the best footballer. Whilst using his hand, he plays football with other children who have no physical deformities.
Football is my future. Because the time that I'm working, they are calling me Agogo, I'm a footballer. So when sickness catch me, that I should forget about the ball. When the sickness gone and I started playing my football, now I hope that it's okay, that's my future.
Boss in the place no bono won say we yare for kura we yere no so nunca sai wona kuma mo say o mo ball no bi nti ama tembia no wo mo wo match sha yeko Zulia
Source of Hope, a non-governmental organization working to provide hope to people in the Pandai district, has adopted Wahab. The organization has rolled out a project which identifies, nurtures and trains children in that deprived area to live their dreams through reading, ICT education, among others. Dr. Opokuya Osei-Yeboah is president of the organization.
We are dedicated to help uplift him to where he wants to be. And so we have core children that we've identified as part of different clubs. So the reading club, the ICT club, and Wahab is actually one of the children that was selected for the ICT club.
Persons like Wahab are eager to succeed, but that can only be achieved when society supports their dreams. From Pandai in the northern region for Joy News, Wahimi Teria reporting.
And we can only wish Wahab all the best. Let's move from the OT area and bring you to the Volta region because the police command there has arrested 17 suspects with narcotic substances in separate operations conducted across the region. On February 3, 2022, 13 suspects were arrested in an hour operation at Japong upon intelligence. Police retrieved quantities of dried leaves, slabs of compressed dried leaves, quantities of cocaine and other implements such as a pair of scissors, folding paper and a brown paper. 5 assaulted motorbikes were also abandoned at the ghettos were also intercepted by the Ghana Police Service. Now 3 suspects, including a woman, were also on February 2, 2022, arrested by the Georgia police in a similar exercise, and quantities of narcotic substances were also retrieved. The operation was led by DSP Christian, the Georgia District Police Commander. In all, 281 wraps of substances suspected to be Indian hemp and assorted narcotics-induced preparations, 622 pieces of toffee bitters and other implements used in processing narcotic substances, rolling paper, pairs of scissors, brown paper, and a lighter was retrieved from the suspects at the Abutiakopa beach at Keta. A 59-year-old male suspect is in the police custody as well after he attempted to escape the arrest of the Ghana Police Service. His accomplice managed to escape in a fishing boat at Abutiakopa beach, abandoning 2 sacks of narcotic substances and a Pajero SUV yesterday, February 3, 2022. The Keta District Command is following other leads to get those who escaped arrested. DSP Afia Tenge is the Regional Public Relations Officer, and she has more.
As part of efforts to combat narcotics within the Volta region, the police command has embarked on a 2-day exercise and have arrested 17 suspects in all for possessing and also peddling in narcotic substances. With the first operation, which was carried out in Juapon, the market, for instance, 13 suspects were rounded up, and the police retrieved quantities of dried leaves, with some which have been compressed, together with other implements. Again, the police also retrieved 5 motorbikes which were abandoned at the various ghettos during the operation. At Duje, the police command also arrested 3 suspects, including a woman, and in all 281 wraps of substances suspected to be Indian hemp, together with 8 assorted implements, were also retrieved. At Abutiakope Beach at Keta, a 59-year-old male suspect was arrested after his accomplices also escaped on a boat during the exercise, and leaving behind 2 sacks of dried leaves, which are also suspected to be Indian hemp, and also a Pajero SUV. All these suspects, who are now in police custody, are being screened thoroughly, and those found culpable will be put before the law court.
Now, depression and anxiety are common among deaf people. According to the 2019 Oxford University study, nearly 500,000 Ghanaians who are deaf, per the latest population and housing census. They lack attention for many of them, and also many of them endure a life of pain with little or no help in critical times as childbirth. In the following report, my colleague Justice Bedu shines a light on the life of a mother with hearing impairment and her journey to bring up her daughter.
When Esther Kofi found out that she was pregnant, she says her heart skipped a beat. As a deaf and dumb woman in a country with little or no support for people of her like, life was already tough.
There's a lot of, hearing people who refused to accept me as a deaf person.
Thanks to her family, her delivery and parenting has been as rough. But not all deaf mothers are this lucky.
Some people think that deaf people can take care of their kids. Actually, we can, and we do our best. I like her a lot. She's really smart, and she actually got to know that her parents are deaf, very early. Example, when we go out, when I go out with her, and we are in the car, she doesn't talk with me, like speaking. She signs with me when we're in the car because she knows that her mom is deaf. It was difficult coming up, even to the extent that teachers were even calling me Mumuni. It got to a point when you come to my school and you mention my name, nobody knew me until you say Mumuni. Before everybody will know, oh yes, this is the guy you are looking for. It was that bad.
Jonathan in Team Dakun grew up in Koforidua. His mother and father were both deaf. Today he works with the Ghana Federation for the Deaf, and he's the one who has come with me to meet Esther and to help me interpret what she wants to tell me.
If a person is born deaf already, being deaf alone has its own mental health implications on the individual. There are some deaf people who get all the support that they want. Other deaf people don't have that. They don't have the support. Nobody's helping them. Nobody, they are neglected. Look at what that alone can do to a person. So if that person happens to be a mother, then they end up treating, it also has some kind of effect on the child, because then they end up treating the child in a certain way that we would say it's not right.
A 2019 Oxford University study showed deaf adults have a higher reported rate of diagnosis of depression or anxiety disorder at an earlier onset compared to the general population. The Ghana Health Service does not have sign language interpreters in many health facilities across the country. Deaf women go into labor many times under doctors who do not know how to communicate with them. Antenatal and postnatal centers largely do not have sign language interpreters, and there is almost no one to talk to about their mental health post-delivery.
In Ghana too, even normal people who have mental health are not even able to access healthcare because of what discrimination and how people will talk about them. How much more a deaf person? They don't even know that there's a place where they can even go to get that assistance.
I'm not God to know what her future will be, but what is I want to do is that I want to work so hard to give her the best education that she needs, to give her every needs that she wants. Maybe when she grows up, she's of age and she wants to be a doctor, I'm ready to support her to become what she wants to become. I'm ready to encourage her to learn hard, to make her parents proud.
Compared to her friends, Esther has been lucky. But in a country where care for deaf people is almost non-existent, many deaf mothers are going through a dark, lonely journey of caring for their children. Justice Baidu, Joy News, Ebri.
Well, the Ghana National Association of the Deaf is calling on government to legally recognize the Ghanaian Sign Language as the official language of the hearing impaired. Communication remains a major barrier between the hearing community and the deaf, as it impacts negatively on education, employment and healthcare of the hearing impaired. The group is also appealing to the Ghana Education Service to ensure sign language is incorporated into the basic school level curricula. They made the call during the Stakeholders Forum held in Kumasi. Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more in the following report.
That is Kakra Ankobia, project coordinator of the Ghana National Association of the Deaf. He is not deaf, but has learned the sign language to enable him to communicate with the deaf.
Hello, yes, I said my name is Kakra and I work with NAD. I know you didn't understand what I just signed. Most of us are just walking around, we see the deaf people, we see them moving their hands and we seem to think that it's just some gestures they are throwing around, but they are communicating. The deaf person cannot learn Hausa, the deaf person cannot learn Dagbani, the deaf person cannot learn English, but you can learn sign language.
Most persons with disabilities in Ghana are stigmatized, marginalized and lack access to essential resources for their development. According to the deaf community, communication still remains a major hindrance and negatively impacts their access to quality education, employment and healthcare. Marcos Stanley Nyako, a lecturer at KNUST, and Emmanuel Asumedu, an entrepreneur, are amongst the over 110,625 deaf people in Ghana who have endured years of stigmatization. They shared their experience.
I have about 600 students that I lecture. I have 2 interpreters that I use. So I stand in front of the class. One interpreter stands in the middle of the class and one interpreter stands at the back of the class. Even though on my resume it shows that I have done this work for a very long time and they could even call my boss, my former boss, and contact him. Still, because I was a deaf person, nobody was willing to accept me.
With inadequate sign language teachers, accessibility to quality education for children with hearing impairments in Ghana has become a mirage. Director of the association says it is imperative for the country to recognize the Ghanaian Sign Language. Juventus Durina is executive director of the association.
Ghanaian Sign Language should be accepted as the official language for the deaf people. This is because on education, if Ghanaian Sign Language is being recognized as official language, there will be a policy that supports it in a way that every school will be accessible for persons who are deaf. For instance, if sign language is recognized today as a language, it means that deaf people can go to their schools in their neighborhood. It means that government will have to provide interpreters. So then the inclusive education policy will now come to play.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reporting.
Now, health scientists are asking for better collaboration to bridge the information and education gap that exists between patients and health practitioners when it comes to cancer. They've realized that unless some lapses, including inappropriate disclosure of outcomes of diagnosis, are dealt with, the country's quest to reduce the daily reports of cancers will hit a snag. Public health specialist Dr. Dominic Gadeka said this at an event to mark the World Cancer Day today.
The lapses identified by the Healthier and Happier Life Foundation include lack of equity in diagnosis, delayed access to treatment, and non-existence of referral systems. Founder Dr. Dominic Gadeka is hopeful when stakeholders work together, the gaps will be bridged so that patients can receive the best of care.
For example, you are supposed to undergo surgery. It takes months, they book you for so long, and cancer doesn't wait for anybody. And there's that lack of communication, of relationship between professionals and the cancer patient. So somebody is diagnosed with breast cancer and they just tell the person, oh, madam, you have breast cancer. You are killing the person there and there. You are not helping the person. So the way we break news to the patient is very critical. So if there's a need for this counseling course or professional development, so we can really revamp our professional knowledge on how to break bad news to our patient.
He also advised cancer patients to ensure they complete their treatment to avoid deterioration.
Cancer is like fire. It's either you don't touch it at all and you die, or you touch it and finish it. If you touch it and stop in the middle, it comes like fire. It consumes. It just spreads to every part of the body and it speeds up the process of your death. So that's why we are always particular. For example, when it comes to cancer treatment, if it's 30 days continuous, it's 30 days continuous. If it's chemo cycle every 3 weeks, you're supposed to go, you go for every 3 weeks, you're there. If you stop once, by the time you come back, it's worse. So we always advise that you stay with the treatment modality.
Some survivors shared their coping mechanisms and urged persons who have also been diagnosed to resort to only approved treatments.
So the advice I have for you, please, let us avoid going to church places to pray, attributing it to the fact that these are people are doing this. You cannot attribute it to anybody. And stop asking yourself, why me? But who should be? It has come. Let us fight a good fight. Sit up. Listen to your professionals. And stop this juju man. I didn't know be a victim. Every year, I do my regular checkup.
If your brother, your sister is going through any of these cancers, please never think that he or she will not survive. God is there, but I can tell you there are certain things you need to do it yourself, not God to just intervene for you. And for the herbalists, they are there, but I tell you, when it gets to some point, they send them to hospital. So please do thorough checkup and you survive any cancer or any sickness.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odami.
Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Next is business.
Well, in business, we're heading into the weekend with fuel price hikes, and now the Institute of Energy Security is questioning the price stabilization and recovery levy, saying the tax has, over the past 3 months, proven to be an unrealistic strategy for bringing down domestic fuel prices. Take a listen to researcher Fritz Moses speak to me earlier on the marketplace.
First thing that we think government can consider is to review the Act 899, because the purpose for which the PSRL was established was, one, to pay under recoveries for the depreciation of the CD against the dollar for importers, then also to stabilize prices. Then the last one, which is to pay subsidies. We think that these three functions can be things that the levy is currently not fulfilling appropriately. The argument or the conversation that was held or that was constituted by government for the reintroduction in this pricing window was that it needs to pay subsidies for premix and RFO. We think that if government really wants to do that, then there should be a separate legislation for that. But the current state of the PSRL should be reviewed and possibly removed. We believe that it's too much for 60 pesos on petrol and 14 pesos on a liter of diesel and a kilogram of LPG. Right. Aside that, also we think there was some windfall that we had from our petroleum receipts. We saw the projection from government was prices averaging around $54 per barrel by the end of last year, 2021. Fortunately for Ghana, the prices went even above $65 per barrel on average terms by October of last year. And so that means that our receipt we had generated more revenue, over 30%, compared to what we were expecting of our projection. And so if at the end of the day we are making that windfall from oil receipts, then why can't the revenues that have been accrued from that side also be used to pushing or to pay out for some of, especially the subsidies on the premix and the RFO, so that consumers will still feel the cushioning on the market?
Now, food chain airs this weekend, and we are spotlighting the Setra East oil mills, where small-scale red oil production has become the source of livelihood for women there. The over 30-year-old business has become the main economic power for the women in the Fijiasi Asokore district of the Ashanti region. Prince Apia gives us a snippet of what to expect this Saturday at 6 p.m.
1, 2, this is very manual, and so it uses a lot of strength. This is done for a couple of minutes to get the initial shell out of the palm fruit before it is cooked, and then the process proper begins. The process, I mean the production of red oil here at the Setra East Mills in the Ashanti region. Now, this is the job of over 30 women who have come together to produce red oil on a small scale. This is going to be the focus of this edition of Food Chain. My name is Prince Apia. I hope you enjoyed this discussion.
Ama Benewa strikes these stalk of palm nut fruits continuously until the fruits are separated from the spikes. Getting the palm nut fruit from its spikes is a difficult task. This activity, Ama and her colleagues here will do for several hours to get all these palm fruits separated. Some of these women have sustained various degrees of injuries as a result of how manual and dangerous it is. But without going through this Herculean task, the rest of the process to extract the oil cannot begin. Next is removing the husk from the fruit, and that will be done with this manual equipment. It will then be collected and carried to this spot where it will be cooked for hours. This enclave provides employment to a good number of the women in the Asokore and its surrounding communities. Awajoa, one of the leaders, explains the genesis of this work.
I have 24 years. My papa and I, my dear Baba, my papa no win. And my favorite shall say, Medi Paka crack. Nigga said it, me to be Pani Swana. Me, I just a matching. I actually not my tongue. But I'm in Chinwu. The Bahayana be watching. Maybe what, maybe the Ababa have a year, Juma. Ye the fear crack and Conquenia. When you define the bahano, near Baba Yen. The Bayan when our party win to win, I say, we see for the almost see a name and make enemy jay. Or my one at Chidi to be giant of a party win. Nami Bushwan and Waha. A chimwa, Namdi amount to no more fat. We are not beton, no more bob one and Namideco. And what do you want to have? You go and saw me, it's me, Meffin, said the woman is saying. It's me, Meffin. What I said a bear, a bebois, as it's him. We are Dawson, do not appear. I 1, 2, 3. Now wine for any big court. It was beginning back why back on so at was so away. No wing in our ha, to be in it to me at Jumaba. The wing in episode is here and a call. When you're private, and no one so at the sea on
The chief executive of Geodrill Ghana Limited, a geotech firm, Dave Harper, has said that challenges businesses to support initiatives aimed at transforming plastic waste into useful resources is very key. According to him, the plastic waste situation in the country is troubling considering its impact on key sectors of the economy.
Which aims at making Ghana a safe environment without excess plastic waste, is being supported by Geodrill as part of its corporate social responsibility. Chief Executive of Geodrill, Dave Harper, believes that many other businesses can support to make the dream a reality.
He's very well intentioned, and I would encourage businesses to get behind McAfee and McIntosh so that we can put Ghana on the map. You know, and be the best in terms of, you know, how we make this plastic problem more sustainable.
Do you have any recommendation for government in dealing with the plastic waste now?
Oh, well, I think collection points is probably a good place to start. And if we collect the plastic, by simply putting collection points, making the job of collecting the plastic around, that would be a good start.
President of Academic City, Professor Fred Bagonluri, also supports the idea that plastic waste can be transformed into useful resources.
Well, you know, we all wake up to the plastics every day, and as an academic and a researcher, the constant question is not only how do we get rid of it, but how do we translate that into something that is useful for the environment. And I alluded to it, that if we can monetize it, then perhaps like scrap metal, people would naturally go around trying to pick it up. So, you know, I've explored ideas of combining plastic with other things like coconut husks and trying to create insulation material from it, noise-proof materials from it, and potentially exploring using it to actually make roads. You know.
Chief Executive for McIntosh Africa, Makafui Awuku, has been sharing his thoughts on the project so far.
That was more than 12 months ago. We had a partner who was innovating the wood-like materials from waste. So we engaged with them about making the material available for us to build the bus stop. It took about 5 months for us to actually get our hands on the material. Which tells you that it's important for us all to help innovators and young people to build capacity, because it's not enough for us to just create the innovations.
The occasion was used to inspect the shelter concept at the Jolu Junction in the Ayawaso West municipality of the Greater Okra region.
And now we'll leave you with some money tips from our Money Lab, after which we have sports. To stay with us.
Hi there, welcome to another edition of the Money Lab. Today we'll look at what a brokerage account is. A brokerage account is an account opened by an investor with a brokerage firm. For instance, you can get in touch with Republic Securities to open a brokerage account. What you would do is that you complete a Know Your Client form, would assist you complete that, and you provide an identification as well as passport pictures and a proof of residence for the opening of a brokerage account.
Good evening and welcome to the sports segment, live here on the Joy News Prime with me, Oriku Wampofo. Chris Houghton is on course to be named as the next Black Stars head coach following a meeting between himself and the Sports Ministry and then the Ghana Football Association. My colleague Kweku Lawrence has been following the story and put together this report.
The Ghana Football Association are set to appoint former Brighton and Hove Albion and Norwich City manager Chris Houghton as the new Black Stars head coach. Houghton reportedly turned down the role as a technical advisor for the team after being offered that position position by the GFA. There had been reports the GFA and Otoado had reached an agreement over the possibility of the Borussia Dortmund assistant coach taking up an interim position for the World Cup qualifier playoff against Nigeria. However, things seem to have changed, with Chris Hughton likely to be on the touchlines when the Black Stars face the Super Eagles in the two-leg encounter. The former Norwich gaffer has been in the country for some time and has met with the president of Ghana as well as the vice president of the GFA, Mark Adu. The Black Stars coaching job has been vacant since the sacking of Milovan Rajvac following the country's West Africa Cup of Nations campaign in Cameroon, where they finished bottom of Group C with just 1 point from 3 games.
From football, let's do some more sports, where the 24th edition of the Winter Olympics is officially underway, with about 3,000 athletes from 91 nations set to compete in the Games. There's more in the following report.
The 24th edition of the Winter Olympics is officially underway after the Olympic cauldron was lit in a restrained opening ceremony in Beijing. Almost 3,000 athletes from 91 nations are set to compete across the Games. The International Olympic Committee, IOC, has been criticized for awarding the Games to China because of the country's alleged human rights abuses. Beijing is the first city to host both the Summer and Winter Olympics, 14 years after it hosted the 2008 Summer Olympics. The Olympic torch was placed into the center of a giant snowflake, which was then illuminated to become the cauldron. The snowflake is made up of placards with the names of the 91 nations competing in Beijing. The United States have sent a 224-strong team to Beijing, making them the biggest squad of the Games, while 17 nations have sent just one athlete, including India and Ecuador. Ghana also sent one athlete, Carlos Maida, who competes in the alpine skiing event.
Well, that's how we wrap up the sports segment here. My name is Oriku Wampofo, and if you want to get updates on the Africa Cup of Nations, do follow us on Joy Sports on Twitter at Joy Sports GH. And remember, this weekend is the final of the Africa Cup of Nations. Our coverage would be on radio, Joy 99.7 FM, as we bring you commentary of the game on Saturday at 7 p.m. and then the big one on Sunday between Senegal and Egypt. Build-up starts at 6 p.m., so you do want to tune in.
We see them all the time. They refuse to drive in congested traffic. They cut in front of us and drive on the shoulders of the road. Sometimes they drive towards oncoming traffic and signal us with their hands to get off the road, as if they're more important than all of us. They treat us with a lot of disrespect, and many times the police are not even spared. At this point, you should be aware of what I'm talking about, the so-called honorables. Those who introduce themselves by asking the question, "Do you know who I am?" Let me narrow it down to the Municipal Chief Executive of the Sekondi Takoradi area, Abdul Mumin Issa. Honorable Abdul Mumin was not lucky this time around. After breaking the law with impunity and driving dangerously, he dared to abuse the police on duty. But he faced a tough policeman who knew his rights.
We are coming to take you to the headquarters for further action. Me? Yes. You and you are saying I should know the car before you refuse to. I'm stupid. Yeah. Good. I will not insult you. I'm a professional police officer. I will not insult you. But we will teach you a lesson.
Honorable Mumin was caught on tape abusing a police officer on duty who clearly was not about to let him off the hook and ensure he faced the same punishment as ordinary Ghanaians.
You don't know whom you are dealing with. You don't know whom you are dealing with. You can't beg him tomorrow. You don't know the person you are talking. Don't mind him. And
now, when the police officials refused to be intimidated by his threats, he got very personal.
You can snap me. I'm a nice and handsome guy. I'm a very nice and handsome officer. Ugly guy. You can snap me. Ugly guy. Hey, honorable. Be careful of your choice of words. You are nice and handsome. Yes. And I said you are ugly. You can snap again. I'm ugly. Yes. Can insult. You can insult and insult. I say you are. I'm a professional police officer. I will never insult you. Yes. And I say you are ugly.
I mean, what has ugliness got to do with being a police officer? Well, the police officer held his ground even in the face of intimidation. The Honorable MCE, who heads the Municipal Security Council, further threatened to transfer him to a remote location.
I'll send you 20.
It's a place. Police are working there.
Yeah.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Okay.
Transfer is not punishment in police.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry. Don't
Transfer
worry.
is not punishment.
Do what you want to do.
Transfer me to Paluku, wherever. My colleagues are there working happily.
Do what you want to do.
So
now, why would the MCE have the audacity to run down a police officer, even threaten to transfer him to a remote location as a form of punishment when he was gravely wrong? The answer is simple. We have cultivated this habit for many years where politicians and political officers threaten police officers because they know people who sit at the top will protect them. We have allowed leaders who are bloated and infested with arrogance to disregard the law. Why is the arrest of the MCE newsworthy? It is because it does not happen often. Many times, politicians have their way, leaving the police broken and their self-worth eroded. I salute the police for not hush-hushing this development. Institutions must work. The law must work. Everyone must be held accountable. This behavior exhibited by this MCE is normal of many appointees who throw their weight about because of their access to power. After all, the threats, Honorable Mumin was kept behind bars. Honorable Mumin was sent to court and is facing 3 charges. But now, you will recall the MCU who was caught on tape admitting he bribed the assembly member to solicit his vote. What has happened to that case? The special prosecutor said he was going to look into that matter, but nothing has been heard since. I believe I speak for a lot of people when I say this policeman must be hailed because he went against the norm and he held his ground. And I'll stick my neck out to say that he did so because of the example being set by the IGP, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare. The Dampare effect is gradually snowballing into a strong bubble of courage amongst the rank and file of the police. So, to all the honorables out there, please prove to us that you deserve the title honorable and adhere to the laws which govern us all.
And it's a wrap for Joy News Prime. My name is Blessed Sugan. Always remember that we have updates on all our running stories at myjoyonline.com.